They tried to bury him. Not once, not twice, over and over again for an entire decade. The NFL looked at Jim Plunkett and decided he needed to be destroyed. They put him in impossible situations. They surrounded him with failure. They broke his body, shattered his confidence, and then blamed him for everything that went wrong. And when he refused to die, when he rose from the wreckage and won 2 Super Bowl championships, they punished him one more time. They locked the Hall of Fame doors and threw away the key. 43 years later, those doors remain closed. Jim Plunkett is the only quarterback in NFL history to win 2 Super Bowls as a starter and be denied entry into Canton. He's the only Super Bowl MVP treated like his accomplishments never happened. This is not an oversight. This is systematic erasure. And by the time you finish watching this video, you will understand exactly why the NFL wanted Jim Plunkett to fail. You will understand the sabotage. You will understand the discrimination. You will understand the injustice that continues to this very day. And you will be furious. Jim Plunkett grew up poor with 2 blind parents, won the Heisman Trophy at Stanford, and was selected first overall by the New England Patriots in 1971. None of that biographical detail matters for this story. What matters is the crime that was committed against his career the moment he entered the NFL. The New England Patriots of the early 1970s were not a professional football organization. They were a dumpster fire pretending to be a franchise. Their offensive line was among the worst in league history. Their roster was filled with players other teams did not want. Their coaching staff changed constantly. Their front office made decisions designed to guarantee failure. This was the trap they set for their rookie quarterback. From his very first snap, Jim Plunkett was being hunted. Defensive linemen reached him before he could set his feet. Blitzers arrived from angles his incompetent offensive line failed to recognize. Pass rushers treated him like a tackling dummy because the men paid to protect him could not execute basic assignments. The statistics tell a story of organized abuse. 1972, 37 sacks. 1973, 34 sacks. 1974, 29 sacks. 100 sacks in 3 seasons. 100 times his body was driven into frozen turf. 100 times he picked himself up, knowing the next play would produce the same result. No quarterback in history could have succeeded under these conditions. Peyton Manning would have failed. Aaron Rodgers would have failed. Every Hall of Fame quarterback would have failed behind the offensive line New England provided. But here is what makes the Patriots' treatment of Jim Plunkett criminal. They never fixed the problem. Year after year, the Patriots front office watched their franchise quarterback get destroyed. They watched him take career-ending hits. They watched his confidence erode with every blindside collision, and they did nothing. They did not invest in offensive linemen. They did not adjust their system. They simply let Jim Plunkett absorb punishment no human being should absorb. Then they blamed him for losing. The media followed the organization's lead. Writers questioned whether he could play professionally. Analysts criticized his pocket presence. Columnists declared him a bust. Nobody wrote about the offensive line. Nobody questioned why the Patriots refused to protect their investment. Nobody asked the obvious question. How is any quarterback supposed to win when he is getting hit 100 times before he can throw? The Patriots had their scapegoat, and they used him without mercy. In 1976, New England traded Jim Plunkett to the San Francisco 49ers. The first overall pick, the Heisman Trophy winner, the franchise savior, traded away after 5 seasons of organizational failure, blamed entirely on him. The Patriots got 2 draft picks in return. They treated Jim Plunkett like spare parts. They disposed of him without acknowledging that they had failed him rather than the other way around. And if you think San Francisco offered salvation, you would be wrong. The 49ers were somehow worse. The San Francisco 49ers of the late 1970s were a catastrophe. This was not the dynasty of Joe Montana and Jerry Rice. This was a franchise wandering in darkness with no direction. The roster was thin. The coaching was unstable. The organization had no vision. They acquired Jim Plunkett and immediately continued his destruction. Start him, lose. Blame him, bench him, run out of options. Start him again, lose again, blame him again. The pattern was humiliating and deliberate. San Francisco never gave Jim Plunkett the tools to succeed. They never built around him. They never committed to him. 2 seasons of chaos produced nothing but more damage to his reputation. Then came the final insult. In 1978, the San Francisco 49ers released Jim Plunkett. Not traded, released. Cut. Terminated. The message was clear. Your career is over. Nobody wants you. Go away quietly. Think about what the NFL had done to this man. They took a Heisman Trophy winner and broke his body behind the worst offensive lines in football. They took a first overall pick and surrounded him with rosters designed to lose. They took a generational talent and blamed him for organizational failures beyond his control. 2 franchises, 9 seasons, hundreds of hits absorbed, dozens of losses accumulated, and not once did anyone acknowledge that Jim Plunkett had been set up to fail. The narrative became accepted truth. Jim Plunkett is a bust. Jim Plunkett cannot win. Jim Plunkett does not belong in the NFL. Every scout believed it. Every executive believed it. Every analyst believed it. There was only one man in professional football who saw the truth. Al Davis was not like other NFL owners. He did not follow conventional wisdom. He did not accept evaluations created by people who had already demonstrated incompetence. He did not care what the football establishment thought about anything. Al Davis looked at Jim Plunkett and saw what everyone else refused to see. A quarterback who had never been given a fair chance. Talent buried under organizational failure. A competitor whose fire had been suppressed but never extinguished. Most importantly, Al Davis saw an opportunity. The entire NFL had declared Jim Plunkett worthless. That meant Al Davis could acquire him for nothing. The Raiders signed Jim Plunkett in 1978. The football world laughed at Al Davis. They would not be laughing for long. Jim Plunkett spent 2 years as a backup in Oakland. He held the clipboard. He watched Dan Pastorini start games. He prepared every week as if he would play, while knowing he probably would not. And he healed. For the first time in nearly a decade, his body was not being destroyed. He was recovering from the abuse New England and San Francisco had inflicted. The 1980 season began with Pastorini as the unquestioned starter. The Raiders were talented across every position. Expectations were high. Then Pastorini broke his leg in Week 5. The Raiders needed a quarterback. They turned to the man the entire NFL had discarded. And Jim Plunkett was ready. The transformation was immediate and terrifying. This was not the broken quarterback who had stumbled through New England and San Francisco. This was vengeance taking human form. Jim Plunkett stepped onto the field and played like a man possessed. The Raiders won their first game with Plunkett starting. Then they won again, and again, and again. Oakland finished the regular season with 11 wins. They entered the playoffs as a wildcard team, the lowest seed in the tournament. They would have to win every game on the road against the best teams in football. Nobody gave them a chance. The Raiders destroyed Cleveland in the divisional round. Jim Plunkett carved up the Browns' defense with precision that shocked everyone who had called him a bust. The Raiders traveled to San Diego and demolished the heavily favored Chargers. The football world watched in disbelief as the quarterback they had declared finished dismantled one of the league's elite teams. Super Bowl 15 awaited. The Philadelphia Eagles were supposed to win Super Bowl 15. Their defense was ferocious. Their roster was complete. They had dominated the NFC and entered as heavy favorites. Jim Plunkett did not care about their reputation. He had spent a decade being told what he could not do. He had spent 9 years being blamed for failures he did not create. This was his moment of reckoning, and he made it look easy. First quarter, touchdown pass to Cliff Branch. The Eagles' defense already looks confused. Second quarter, another touchdown. Philadelphia's game plan is in shambles. Third quarter, Jim Plunkett drops back, reads the coverage, and fires a strike that breaks the Eagles' spirit completely. The man was surgical. 13 completions, 21 attempts, 261 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Final score, Oakland 27, Philadelphia 10. The Oakland Raiders were Super Bowl champions, and Jim Plunkett was named Most Valuable Player. Let that sink in. The man 2 franchises had discarded, the man the entire NFL had declared finished, the man who had been unemployed just 2 years earlier, Super Bowl MVP, standing on that podium in New Orleans, holding the trophy that validated everything he survived. The Patriots had thrown him away. He won a Super Bowl. The 49ers had cut him loose. He won a Super Bowl. The entire football establishment had called him a bust. He proved every single one of them wrong, and he was not finished. 3 years later, the Raiders had moved to Los Angeles. Jim Plunkett remained the starting quarterback. Super Bowl 18 matched the Raiders against the Washington Redskins. Washington had finished 14-2. Their offense had scored the most points in football. Their defense was suffocating. Experts considered them one of the greatest teams ever assembled. The Raiders did not care about expert opinions. First quarter. Los Angeles strikes first. Washington looks stunned. Second quarter. The Raiders' defense suffocates everything Washington attempts. Jim Plunkett manages the game with the calm of a surgeon. Third quarter. Marcus Allen breaks free for a touchdown run that seals the game, but it was Plunkett's precision that set everything up. Fourth quarter. Domination complete. Final score, Los Angeles 38, Washington 9. A 29-point destruction of a supposed dynasty. Jim Plunkett threw for 172 yards and a touchdown. He made 0 mistakes while Washington collapsed around him. 2 Super Bowl championships, 2 rings, 2 validations of a career the league had tried to destroy. Now we arrive at the crime that continues to this day. Jim Plunkett has been eligible for the Pro Football Hall of Fame for over 30 years. He has not been inducted. 2 Super Bowl victories as a starting quarterback, a Super Bowl MVP award, a Heisman Trophy, the greatest comeback story in NFL history. The Hall of Fame voters have rejected him repeatedly. The excuses they provide are insulting beyond measure. His regular season statistics are not impressive enough. This ignores that his statistics were destroyed by organizations that refuse to protect him. His career winning percentage is not dominant enough. This ignores that he played most of his career on teams designed to lose. His supporting cast deserves more credit. This standard is never applied to any other quarterback in history. Tom Brady gets credit for championships despite playing with elite rosters. He is in Canton. Joe Montana gets credit for championships despite legendary teammates. He is in Canton. Troy Aikman won 3 Super Bowls with rosters more stacked than anything Jim Plunkett ever had. He is in Canton. Roger Staubach won 2 Super Bowls with America's team behind him. He is in Canton. Jim Plunkett won 2 Super Bowls after being discarded by 2 franchises, after being told his career was over, after fighting through a decade of sabotage. He is not in Canton. The discrimination is obvious to anyone willing to see it. Jim Plunkett was Mexican-American in a league controlled by wealthy white men. He came from poverty in a sport dominated by privilege. He did not fit the image that NFL power brokers wanted representing their institutions. The same biases that made New England and San Francisco willing to discard him are the same biases that keep Canton's doors closed. The Hall of Fame is not about football accomplishments. It is about politics, about image, about whose story the establishment wants to celebrate. Jim Plunkett's story makes powerful people uncomfortable. His success exposes the failures of organizations run by men who do not want to be criticized.
His inclusion would require acknowledging that the NFL systematically destroyed a generational talent and then pretended it was his fault. So they keep him out, year after year, decade after decade. The injustice continues. Jim Plunkett is 77 years old. He has spent 4 decades waiting for a phone call that never comes. He has watched lesser players receive honors that should belong to him. He has remained dignified while the institution that should celebrate him pretends he does not exist. The NFL tried to destroy his career. They failed. The Hall of Fame is trying to erase his legacy. They will fail too. Because history remembers champions. History remembers men who overcame impossible odds. History remembers stories that inspired generations. Jim Plunkett's story will outlive every voter who refused to acknowledge it. His 2 Super Bowl rings are permanent. His MVP trophy is permanent. His legacy is permanent. No vote can erase what he accomplished on that field. The Raiders believed in Jim Plunkett when the entire NFL wanted him gone. Al Davis saw greatness where others saw garbage. The silver and black gave him the opportunity that New England and San Francisco denied. The Raiders organization trusted a man everyone else had abandoned. That is what makes this franchise different. The Raiders collect the discarded. They believe in the forgotten. They provide second chances when the rest of the league slams doors. Jim Plunkett was the ultimate Raider, and together they proved every doubter, every critic, and every voter wrong. The Hall of Fame can keep their doors closed forever. It will not change one simple truth. Jim Plunkett has 2 Super Bowl rings. The voters who rejected him have none. If this story made you angry, you should be. Share it with someone who needs to know the truth. Comment below and tell us which overlooked Raiders legend deserves recognition. And remember that some champions never need a gold jacket to prove their greatness. Jim Plunkett proved his on the biggest stage in sports, twice.